Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming our guest speaker for today, Mr. Jeffrey A. Romoff, President and CEO of UPMC.
Thank you, Doris. Thank you to the African American Chamber of Commerce for inviting me. I kind of think of us as UPMC. And I commend you for the many years of excellent work you've done for the African American community, and more importantly, for Pittsburgh. I can't tell you that there were no two more surprised people about sharing the podium today than Wendell Freeland and myself. I'm the first person who can testify the fact that Wendell is indeed not white. Wendell and I go back a long time, as Wendell has been as he refers to it, a former and troublesome member of the UPMC board, and continues to be a member of our diversity committee, chaired by Esther Bush, who I saw somewhere here. And I have never, ever it must be at least 20 years that I've known Wendell, ever had a conversation with him that he wasn't literally busting my butt. For which I think he is extraordinarily proud. So congratulations, Wendell. Yesterday at this time, literally at this time, I arrived at Kappa, which is the performing arts high school of the Pittsburgh school system. And this was for the public announcement of the Pittsburgh Promise. And I was greeted by Superintendent Mark Roosevelt, and Joe Amberley was Dr. Joe Amberley was one of our speakers, and of course the mayor. And Mark, this was an event put together by the school system, and Mark said, well, before we do this thing, come with me. So he takes me to a room, a back room as he referred to it, and sitting there are 40 selected high school students of the Pittsburgh school system. And I walk in, and they're sitting there, it moves me now, and it's only 24 hours old, and they're sitting there with Pittsburgh Promise t-shirts. And I walk in, and they stand up spontaneously and applaud. And it was a lovely moment, as you can see. And my reaction was very similar to my reaction now, and I was, though, speechless. And I could only say thank you. And I'm thinking about, what was it about that moment? What was it about actually what turned out to be a splendid press conference that was so important and so important to Pittsburgh? Because, and by the way, the majority of these kids were African American, because that's what the majority of the Pittsburgh school system is. And what was so important to me is that this was a natural, spontaneous act expressing a hope for the future. These kids didn't know what I know and what you know yet about how tough it is out there, about how cynical we all are, about how Pittsburgh ain't gonna make it, about how there are 68 empty gates at the airport, about all the troubles we have, all the troubles you have had as African Americans, not just in Pittsburgh, but across this country and this world. They didn't know it yet. They still thought there was a shot. And when I walked in, I represented to them a real shot or a palpable opportunity to go to college or to a trade school or something else. That was a wake-up call. That was a serious wake-up call for me. I think the Pittsburgh Promise is a serious wake-up call for this community. And I think it's going to be one of these challenges that will define us for the future. And for UPMC, this is very, very important. Because UPMC, as I said yesterday, lives and breathes for the future of Pittsburgh and lives and breathes for the future of this region. Everything we do, not just yesterday's 100 million, everything we do in serving the majority of the people who live here and providing health care, everything we do in providing at least 2/3 of the care to those who are disadvantaged, everything we do in employing, with Mercy, close to 50,000 people in Pittsburgh, everything we do in developing the Lawrenceville area, the Oakland area, the Shadyside area, and ultimately downtown as well, everything we do in being an economic driver for this region is geared to the future of this region. And I can tell you, having been here for 35 years, went from the Bronx to New Haven to Pittsburgh, I'm as surprised as you are. Having been here for 35 years, I have to tell you, from a UPMC perspective, because it's an interesting growth story, at every turn there was resistance. At every turn there was, you can't do it, you won't do it, we resent you doing it, you got something else cooking. Now, that didn't deter UPMC. It won't deter UPMC. It won't deter me. But the interesting message about that, in juxtaposing it with these 40 kids, is what are we saying about us? What does Pittsburgh say about Pittsburgh when it looks behind itself, when it's kicking and screaming when the future comes and it passes Pittsburgh by? Why isn't Pittsburgh where I want to be, which is on the 62nd floor of the U.S. Steel building looking down and looking up to the future? Why isn't Pittsburgh there? Why shouldn't it be there? Why aren't we proud about the future? Why don't we embrace the uncertainty of the future and the opportunity of the future? It's a great question for us, and I'm very hopeful that the Pittsburgh promise and everything else we do in this town and the opportunities we got the greatest people. I much prefer the people here than to the people in the Bronx, and I can't even remember the people in New Haven. It's a very interesting question, and because I'm here at the African American Chamber of Commerce, I asked the question about the African American community as well. Is this African American community just a bunch of Pittsburghers? Or is this African American community going to grab the future, grab UPMC and command the future, and command all the things that we have here, and are we going to walk together, run together, and be as aggressive as we possibly can from a business opportunity point of view and from every other opportunity point of view? So instead of regaling you with what UPMC does for diversity, and I think Doris was kind enough to say what we do in the diversity arena, I'd much rather chat with you about Pittsburgh. And let me say something about diversity. From UPMC's point of view, diversity is not diversity. Diversity is everything that we are. It is not something put aside to address African Americans or to cover our butts when it comes to affirmative action issues and all that. Diversity is the future of this country. Diversity is what we are and must be. It is not a voluntary act of paying attention to something. It is everything we have to be. It is particularly vivid in the context of what's happening in this country. This country better be diverse because this country is no longer on top of the world. This country is just one of the parts of the world that there are. And it will be a lesser part of the world as every year goes by. And the rest of the world aren't a bunch of white guys from Pittsburgh or even Wendell. the rest of the world look different, feel different, talk different, and have different demands and different cultures. So UPMC needs to be diverse. UPMC wants to be diverse, and UPMC is committed, like you are, to the city of Pittsburgh, and I thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you.